Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, was bored at work, so got a guy fired and possibly sent to prison for fraud. After that, want to threaten to kill me then go be creepy with little girls? Have fun dealing with the FBI. Finally, neighbor is an AOLA so I caused a potentially catastrophic rift in his marriage. Before we get into today's episode, remember to subscribe so you never miss another episode of r/ProRevenge. Was bored at work, so got a guy fired and possibly sent to prison for fraud. I work the night shift as a receptionist at a hotel in Norway, and most nights are spent watching Netflix, playing games. Last summer was really slow and I also worked a lot extra, so I ran out of stuff to watch and games to play. One night I got a mail from Scooter. He wanted to book a room for almost 20 days. I just had to send him the price and confirmation that we had rooms available, and he would then send me his credit card info for me to pre-charge. Normally we just delete these kinds of mail, but I was bored out of my mind, so I responded with an offer for around $2,000 for the entire stay. Also made sure to inform him that he could cancel for free up until the day of arrival. This is probably the most common fraud attempt in the hotel travel industry. Unlike most businesses, we are able to charge credit, debit cards with only the card number and EXP date. No need for a PIN code, CVC or other auth methods. Our software also allows us to deposit money directly to local and international bank accounts by using the card number. Because of this, it heads like Scooter will try to prepay with stolen, skimmed cards, but then cancel the booking and asking us to refund the amount to a different card. A couple of hours after sending him the offer, he responded with a Visa number and told me to charge him as soon as possible. I checked the card with our validation software, and to my big surprise it did not belong to Scooter. If validation succeeds, it will return with the card owner's name 90% of the time. I sent him a new mail stating that the card was declined because of insufficient funds. He quickly replied and gave me a new card to try. Guess what? This one didn't belong to Scooter either. Wasn't even the same person as the first card. By checking the BIN codes, 6 first digits, I found which banks had issued the cards. Not even issued in the same country. My plan was to just call the banks and inform them of the attempted scam, but there were still several hours before I could go home, so I decided to frick with Scooter a bit more. Sent him a reply that the second card went through, and also the reference number for his stay at our hotel. As expected, a couple hours later Scooter sent a mail cancelling the order and asked if we could refund the money to a different card, as he had lost his wallet and deactivated the card he paid with. This card was issued from a Polish bank. Not sure why, but Polish bank accounts are often used by people who want to launder money from bitcoins and drugs. You can buy a legit card for around $500 that is registered to some girl in Poland from Darknet. At this point, Scooter were probably pretty happy about the $2,000 he soon would receive. I replied that it was no problem for me to transfer the $sign to a different card, as long as it was valid. How fun would it be to also cancel his own card, so that he had to spend $500 for a new one? Not fun enough. In the last mail I wrote that he could send me the card number, but that our email server would go down for maintenance in a few minutes, so my boss would do it on Monday. It was now Saturday morning, so enough time for the charged bank to call us and reverse the transfer if he needed the money right away. I told him to call the hotel before I ended my shift at 7 o'clock. He called almost immediately, and I wrote down the card number and his phone number. Told him I transferred the money, and that it would be in his account by 12 o'clock. My shift ended, and I went home with all the info Scooter had provided. Wanted to see if I could find out who he was, and of course this idiot had an open Facebook profile that I found using his phone number. He even listed his address and employer. Looked a bit like the artist Scooter, but with even more fricked up face and spiky hair full of gel. He lived somewhere outside of London, in an area I would describe as a British trailer park. Houses that were nice at some point, but where the owners had spent £0 on maintenance since it was built. Thrasher everywhere, and broken windows that were boarded up or fixed by sealing holes with garbage. Now to the fun part. According to his Facebook profile, Scooter worked at a hotel. This meant that he would have access to card information from guests that booked through sites like booking.com. I called the manager of the hotel and told him there were reason to believe that one of his employees were trying to commit credit card fraud and that the card's numbers could belong to their guests. Gave him the name of the people who owned the card Scooter tried to pay with, and to no surprise both had stayed at the hotel. Told him it was Scooter, and the manager just exploded in anger. Not 100% sure what he said, because he was screaming so loud, but I think Scooter wasn't a normal employee. He worked there through some kind of government training program or something. After talking to the manager, I called both Visa and MasterCard International and told them about Scooter's little business venture. Apparently it's pretty easy to check if there are more cards that have been involved in fraud, where the cards also have been used at Hotel Scooter. With his Polish deposit account info, they would also be able to pin it on Scooter if he had been successful in scamming anyone, and sue him for the amount stolen. The police also called me later to get a statement regarding the whole situation, so I know that the manager reported it to the police. Not sure what happened to Scooter, but according to his Facebook profile, he no longer works at the hotel, or anywhere else as far as I can see. Want to threaten to kill me then go be creepy with little girls? Have fun dealing with the FBI. After I broke up with my ex, I would keep tabs on him. Rumors, hearsay, friendly whispers, and public social media posts alike. Due to the threat of violence, he'd occasionally post something about burning down my house, or he'd text a mutual friend and try to figure out where I had moved to, so I felt justified, and we live in a very small town, so gossip flowed like honey. In reality, I was assuaging my anxiety by exerting what little control I could in that particular area in my life. Everything ended up documented for legal reasons to give it more legitimacy. At the time, friendly custody talks had broken down into we need attorneys to mediate, and due to the fact that I wouldn't release my daughter into his care without a custody agreement, I started to receive threats from both him and his family, mostly along the lines of, if you're gone, the baby will be ours. One specific threat that still sticks with me was to burn down my apartment building, prompting me to move. My social worker / court appointed attorney never received the requested documents for custody, so my concerns went from legal issues to my own physical safety rather quickly. After a while, it went from, so and so is threatening you online, to did you hear that so and so got kicked out of where he was staying for trying to sleep with his roommate's 12-year-old cousin? So and so isn't allowed near this person's 14-year-old daughter anymore, because they caught him texting her nudes. I heard about 3 different young girls who had possibly been victimized by this dude, which was believable. He had pursued me when I was 19 and he was 26, and I looked very young for my age. We broke up in part due to him being arrested for minor sexual crimes. All of these girls were coming from slightly trashy families with run-ins with the law, so he probably knew that the adults around would be wary of reporting him. So I reported him and all of the online handles I knew he used to the motherfucking FBI. Straight up went to the center of missing and exploited children on his ass. Not 2 months later, I get a message from someone saying, did you hear that so and so got arrested in a sting? He had been trying to sleep with this 12-year-old girl offline, and when he went to meet up with her, it ended up being set up with the state police or something. He caught extra charges thanks to the whips and handcuffs he had in his backpack. Now he's in jail, and a registered ex-offender. If he had just not threatened me, I never would have paid attention to gossip concerning him, and he probably would have gotten away with it 4 years. Neighbor is an AOLA, so I caused a potentially catastrophic rift in his marriage. So this happened a couple weeks ago, but I saw the result of it earlier today. A bit of backstory. I live in a predominantly Mormon area and I am not Mormon. I receive quite a bit of criticism from my across the street neighbor because of the religious difference I'm assuming. We've never interacted before he's started freaking with me. He currently has 10 children. About a month ago, on trash day, he told one of his kids to kick my trash can over into the street. The kid did it, and I witnessed everything. This is not the first time he has kicked my trash over, and I figured it was a lost cause to go over there and ask them for some decency more than I already have. That same day, I was reminded by a friend about how I used to have a pen pal when I was younger before I moved. Later that night, I was browsing the web looking for a pen pal when I stumbled across a cool sounding site, prisonpalpals.com. I visited the site and, after clicking through a few dodgy links, was brought to an array of different prisoners who were looking for a pen pal. After doing a bit of browsing from there, I stumbled across a fellow who was on death row for first-degree murder. Feeling bad for this guy, but not wanting to give my address out, you send an email. The guards print it out and give it to the prisoner, who then write you a letter and delivers it to your physical address. I remembered the AO lay across the street. More out of curiosity than malice, I proceeded to write a very detailed letter about how I am a trapped, secretly gay Mormon man with 10 kids who is looking to start an extramarital affair with a prisoner. I puts in his address and send. I had my hilarious, petty satisfaction. I expected nothing to come out of this. I thought he would be going through his mail, see the letter, not open it, toss it and think nothing of it after that. But boy, was I wrong. Of course, with it being a small town, this guy does run a small business here where one of my acquaintances works. I went in just earlier today and chatted with my acquaintance before he told me, oh my god, did you hear about neighbor? I said no, because I hadn't, and he filled me in on all of the details. Apparently one of the neighbor's kids had brought in the mail, only for his wife to find it and read a letter from this prisoner responding to the joke letter that I wrote. I don't know the specifics of the letter, but I do know that his wife threw a freaking fit when he arrived home and made him pack his bags. My acquaintance informed me that this was not the first time neighbor had started or tried to start an affair with another man, and apparently this was the last straw for her. I am still shocked, horrified, and extremely amused by this predicament.